All right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. I'd like to announce that this meeting is being recorded. May I have a roll call?
Director Aguilar?
Here.
Director Freeman?
Here.
Director Schultz?
Here.
Director Brandt?
Here.
Director Tom?
Here.
Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Chumash people who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Chumash elders past, present, and future who call this place, Anaskoyo, the land that Isla Vista sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue the tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Chumash community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. Now I'd like to move on to the consent agenda. Is there any questions or motions or comments on the consent agenda from directors?
I'll move approval. I'll second.
All right, we have the motion by Topliff and the second by Scholes. Is there any public comment on this motion? I see none, so I'll go to a vote. All those who are in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. And this motion passes 5-0-0-2.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Now I'd like to move on to the public comment period. At this time, any member of the public may speak on matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board of directors that are not on the agenda. The board will not take action on any item not on the agenda except as provided by law. Is there any public comment at this time?
We don't have anyone.
All right, that concludes that period. We'll move on to our discussion action items. We have item 4.1, move-in 2024 debrief.
All right, so I'll let Jenna explain this, but essentially we wanted to give you all an update on how move-in went and also just have some discussion on improvements for next year. Turn over to Jenna.
Yeah, so this should be pretty quick. I mean, this really simple slide with the before and after of all the items that we had. We definitely had a lot more items than last year just because I took more items from the give sale. Seeing how the move-in sale went last year, I just couldn't believe the things that people wanted. So I made sure to get more items from the give sale this year. As you can see, almost everything was gone. And we raised just over $2,000. We got a lot of media coverage and a lot of people were really happy with the items that they got, and everything was very cheap. So it was really nice seeing everybody happy to get a good deal. And what I've been noticing mostly around town, move out in general, is a lot of cardboard boxes, tons and tons of cardboard boxes. And even if they are broken down, there's just been so many that they're causing trash cans to overflow. And then unfortunately, where the houses where there is usually overflowing trash cans, those are already overflowing. And then another weird thing I've noticed is a lot of box springs for whatever reason. So people have been trying to get rid of those. And we have had a bit of an uptick in people wanting to utilize our donation service. So people wanting us to come pick up items from their doors. So just keeping in mind that the need to get rid of things during this time is high. And there's definitely a lot of waste created during this time, even though it's a bit different than the waste created during move out. But I think that we would really benefit from having some sort of similar program that we do during move out, whether or not that's having Marburg just come more often or hiring a company like Calling for You again to come and kind of try and mitigate the issue. That's mostly what I've noticed, and I did a lot of research into move out in the past couple years, but I'd like to do a bit more research into move in, which I know a lot of the solutions will of course have to do with move out. And I do like the idea of looking into potentially storing items ourselves one day if we can do that. I saw a college in Minnesota that does that, and they have designated sized boxes, and it's $40 per box to store over the summer. So something like that, that could prevent this uptick in cardboard boxes. And so I'll definitely be looking into more strategies like that.
All right, thank you for that update. I have a few questions I'll start off with. You said we had a healthy amount of media coverage. Could you give us some examples of which sources came to observe us?
Well, Newshawk and Santa Barbara Independent picked up the story beforehand, and then John Palmentary came and did a news story, and he also posted it on his Instagram. So I know that brought in a lot of people. And I think that was it, right?
Yeah, we
But
also-
that was significant.
We put it on the Santa Barbara Independence like calendar as well. It usually gets some good traffic for people.
Nice. And do you think that there were a significant amount of buyers who aren't living in Isla Vista, folks who just came and want to take advantage of the sale?
It was definitely mostly students, and when I advertised the sale, I was trying to keep it pretty internal to Isla Vista. And then the day of the sale, when I saw all the stuff that we had and was reminded of how much stuff we had, I was like, okay, let's get the word out to the whole community. So it was definitely mostly residents of Isla Vista. But some people that didn't live in Isla Vista definitely came, and I'm glad that they did because we really had so much stuff.
Yes, Director Grant.
And $2,700 in sales or $2,076. That's really cool. How is the payment process going? Is that
Really
working
well, yeah, so we used All Paid, which is the same system we used last year, and we actually got that system just in time for last year's sale. And I feel like we were a lot more prepared this year. I made a little Zoom so all my employees could watch exactly how they had to do it and how to fill out the receipts and everything. So the minute the sale started, it went pretty smooth, whereas last year we had pretty long lines, not that there were more people than last year. So it went well. And then the rest that wasn't paid by card was just paid by cash.
And then the collections, what are the types of things people are wanting us to come get from them?
I can actually kind of tell you, I'm seeing, this is very broad, clothes, household items, and small furniture are the three most prominent ones that people have checked off.
Gotcha. That's really cool to hear.
Yeah, but once we do the actual collections this Thursday, we'll get a little bit of a better idea of what all the items are.
Okay, so they're scheduled, but they haven't. Okay. that
That
makes
happen
sense.
only on Thursdays.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Cool. Well, thanks for that. This is a really cool event. I'm glad it was a success this year.
Yeah, thanks to Viviana for letting us grab leftover items from the give sale and all the other support she gave me, and then UCSB Housing for paying for the containers and letting us use the space.
Great. I had a question I wanted to ask. How are folks most often reaching out to you to make a request for pickup? Like, how is that service being asked for?
We have a Google form.
Okay.
And Fiona just redid the website so that it's really easy. We have a QR code that goes straight to the IVB webpage. And that's one of the first things that pops up is the ability to have unwanted items picked up. So during move out, we really push it a lot, but it is available year round, and we'd like to make that known. But yeah, the Google form. But there have been a couple instances where they've reached out. I don't know what it is, how people can reach out on the website
Oh,
when you.
yeah, the contact us page.
Yeah.
get a lot
That's
of-
happened a couple times.
Just so that people know for the public, like, we're not profiting off of this. We spend almost the same amount to make it happen as we bring in money, so it's all to keep it all within the community. We're not, making money off of this. We're just making back what we need to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, most of these items are at like an extremely discounted price, correct?
Like $20.
They're
Yeah.
very cheap.
Yeah.
We just wanted to get rid of it all.
I definitely have friends in the greater Santa Barbara community who are like, when is the move-in sale gonna happen? Like, I'm looking for a table. Like, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a fast sale. Like, you gotta be on it Monday.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, that's great to hear. There's not further questions from the board. I'll ask the public if there's any public comment or questions. Seeing none. So I'll just come back to the board. I'll make my comments brief, but I'm really proud of this program. I'm glad that we continue to expand the way that we keep our community clean and also expand the way that we promote the values of just like reducing waste and reusing items and looking at things not as waste, like not as trash. These objects have a second life or a third life even in Isla Vista, which is a huge Isla Vista tradition, I think. So I'm very grateful we've operationalized this. And yeah, just good work. Yes, Director Schultz.
I do want to say that a lot of my friends and a lot of people I know talk about this move-in sale. They use it. Everyone that I know has something from a move-in sale in their apartment. Like, it's really widespread and people really, really love it. So it's
Thanks.
really nice to see like the numbers and see the outcome.
That's awesome.
Right. Well, thank you for that update and presentation and answering all our questions. Yeah. We can move on to our second item. Item 4.2, resolution for jury duty and bereavement policies.
All right, so, sorry, just getting this pulled up. So we have been working through updating our employee policies. So this one is for the first round of that was discussed as the first priority to do. So for some reason my thing isn't loading. Give me 1 second. Okay. So in terms of the changes that were made, they weren't that complicated of changes in this round. And so the bereavement leave, we just clarified some things of the policy and just had a process for how people can use it. But they didn't change the benefit given. It's been 5 days, 40 hours per instance. And so we just added in a process to have people get approved for bereavement leave. And then for the jury duty, this one was very vague, undefined policy. So it became more detailed and more defined of what the benefit is and what people can get. So it's essentially 80 hours of paid time off for jury duty. The rest of the policy goes into like how that's operationalized essentially. And that's obviously for our permanent full-time employees. Everybody else gets a prorated benefit, but that's the benefit we provide. And just to remind you all, like, jury duty is not a 9 to 5 gig always. I mean, it can be, but if somebody might have jury duty 9 to 12 for, let's say, 4 weeks, that's like a big case. They could work the rest of the day and then get the paid time off for more than 10 days by spreading out the 80 hours over more court days. So we would work with the employees to get a schedule of their court days and then map it out with them. But essentially, we're giving paid time off of 80 hours. It is pretty rare, jury duty. Overall, it is rare, and it only happens once a year at the very, very most. So we're not seeing that this is going to cause a big expense to the district necessarily. It doesn't happen that often.
Yes.
One key thing about this, by the way, is that the specific numbers that are in here match the numbers that were in Jonathan's contract.
Yep.
So it's at least currently there.
Yeah. I think that was the goal, was to match it at these two at least to my New York contract.
Director Brand.
So what happens if someone is on a jury that goes above the 80 hours? If they use up all their 80 hours of time?
So they could use other pay time off that they have to fill in more pay for an more extended period of time. Or they would be unpaid during that period. It depends on what they're having left in their balances. So if a jury is gonna, be like a year, that's an extreme case. We know it's happened, but it's an
Yeah.
extreme case. We would have to work with the employee and figure out a schedule. They might have to work part-time at that point. And, we don't know the jury schedule. It's really, some of these juries can be once a week for a whole year. It could be 5 days or 4 days, not Fridays, for only 2 weeks. I've seen a few different schedules in my time, and they can be all over the place. So it's hard to plan exactly what's going to happen. If in the extreme cases, we'll have to, deal with them. But overall, most juries' services will be covered by this.
And does the policy provide a discretion for the general manager to approve additional time off if the situation calls for it and your discretion? Like, I'm looking almost at mirroring language to what's in bereavement policy.
Kind of. It says that employees may request unpaid leave for the length of absence needed to complete the service. So we do have a separate unpaid leave policy that, we do allow our employees to take a leave of absence, essentially. Let's say it's like a sabbatical, but you're not getting paid. But that's a defined amount of time. On this, it doesn't have a defined amount of time. If your jury is a longer period, it is, flexible that we would work with them to fulfill their jury service. And then they could choose to be paid or not paid, or be part-time or not part-time. We would work that out. This isn't precluding anything from happening. It just says if they have a longer length of service needed, we would work, or they would make a request. We definitely don't want to punish people for getting jury duty.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm struggling with, because but while I understand most will be with under that amount of time. I just worry that we could be in a situation in the future where someone does get an assignment that's above that amount of time, and they're faced with having to take the court compensation as a substitute, which is not going to be as much as their salary.
Right. It's going to be way less.
Virtually nothing.
Virtually nothing.
Why did we choose 80 hours?
I think it was to match specifically the general manager contract.
That's what you put in my contract.
We could transitively ask, why did you put 80 in your contract?
I don't know. That's up to you guys. I just agreed to it. But, yeah.
One of the discussions that came up in policy committee, it was brief, it wasn't an in-depth discussion, was just that if a individual is being called for jury duty and they're being, they're discussing the schedule, that's in the early part of the process of the selection. And so that's where individuals do have the opportunity to express that this would become a financial burden for them. So we weren't imagining a situation in which the employee isn't aware that they have this ability to speak with the court and explain that this would be a huge financial challenge for me to be on this case.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a young adult who works this schedule, etc. And so we were imagining that it would just be a very low percentage of moments. I'm hoping zero, but that's not how the world works. In which we'd have an employee who would be locked in out of their own will.
Thanks.
Director Brand.
And I hear what you're saying, but I also think that's the reason why our justice system is kind of screwed up. because there is this disincentive for young people and working people to be a part of the system. And so, and the courts understand that and do grant those exceptions. So I hear that. And I also realize that in some ways it's just a philosophical exercise because it's very unlikely that this is going to happen statistically, that someone is involved in the jury that takes longer than 80 hours. But I just, the other thing that maybe would make me feel better is, do we have a policy about other sorts of paid leave that can be granted?
We have lots of different policies for paid leave, and bereavement's one of them, right? So we have vacation, we have sick, we have paid family leave. And I think that's all of them, actually,
But nothing that's at like a general paid leave that's at sort of the discretion of general manager.
Not, I mean, there's like the absence policy, but that's not paid. Like someone can take a leave of absence from the district, but it's not a paid leave of absence.
Yeah, it's unpaid leave.
But the closest would be bereavement, because it's another one where it happens outside of your control. And yeah, we don't know when they're gonna happen. And so I think that's the most similar one, where you might need more time than the basic time for whatever you might need to do for that. So I think these are the two most similar leaves.
Well, I just, and my opinion on this is that I would like to see something in the policy that says that at the general manager's discretion, additional time can be allocated. I don't think that we should make it an entitlement in there or tweak the number, because it sounds like there's been some thought about the 80 hours.
Are you saying that it would say that if somebody needed like 90 hours, we can give them the last 10 paid? Sort of, is that what you're saying?
If someone needed above 80 hours at the general manager's discretion, there's some sort of process for you to approve that.
Okay.
I appreciate the mentality of the policy. I feel like though, if we were to do that, we should just give in and just give everyone the leave, because otherwise it ends up turning into Jonathan having to sit there and I occasionally say no. Do we really expect him to be like, no, this case is one that's really annoying me. I don't like the fact that they held you this long and I'm not going to grant you the things. Like I feel like if we're going to do that, we should just bite the bullet and do it. Not
Like
make
open.
it Jonathan's prerogative to
Yeah.
sometimes completely screw over someone's life.
You can, it opens the door for discrimination.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Well, I'm not tied to, the details of how we get there, but I would like to see a policy that allows for our employees to be able to serve on a jury and be compensated if they are assigned to a case that's over 80 hours.
How would we do that for Jonathan's policy too then?
You'd have to do a separate contract amendment.
Yeah.
if you wanted to.
You have to adjust that too.
You don't have to. You don't- you could feel like you want to. You're not required to.
That situation does cause the extra problem if we made it Jonathan's prerogative in order to try to figure it out. Jonathan's prerogative.
Yeah, and I, should have caught that when Jonathan's contract came to us too. Because I have the same issue with that being in your contract.
Well, this is not necessarily urgent, I'd say, to do today. So if you guys want to send it back, I think we could work with that and, just have more to the board on the next board meeting. These updated ones plus the other ones we get through.
I kind of feel like maybe I'm just picturing we go back to policy committee, we're going to end up having a discussion that's going to be rudimentary, like surface level about the actual decision, and then we're going to end up back here trying to once again decide. Now, we might be prepared today in order to do it, but I almost just feel like it would be better for policy committee if they're going to end up working on a policy for this concept to get direction from the board saying that policy committee should make a policy that that like satisfies indefinite potential jury with duty as opposed to us.
Oh, yeah, I agree that you.
Yeah,
could-
so
you should get
I'm
more
picturing like, we're
direction.
gonna go to policy committee and then we're gonna be like, well, I guess we can spend some time working on this potential draft that may or may not get accepted for this thing because we have to kick it back to the board to just make this decision. We're at the board right now. We could spend some more time talking about how different people feel, but now we're not here, we're maybe not prepared for it. Maybe bring it back to the board before bringing it back to the policy committee, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we can get your feedback and also go back to the board without going back to the committee. Like if we might not have the language here today, or, we want to make sure we get the language right and what's approved. So you can just give us your general direction and we can rewrite this too, and just come back straight to the board.
One suggestion I want to make right now is that we can, or it's a question / suggestion, we can approve this version of the policy and still amend this policy.
You can
in
amend it
later
again.
months
Yeah,
to have
you can
like
do that.
to incorporate the indefinite concept.
There might be an unlucky person who gets jury duty in the next 2 weeks.
Well, actually, in some sense, that is another proxy for the same decision because the original text said, I just had it a second ago. While serving on a jury, an employee will be given a paid leave of absence for the duration of said jury duty. So in some sense, approving this policy temporarily right now does the opposite of the thing that Spencer is suggesting maybe we do. So it's like I feel like it kind of is like the decision before the board today is to try to decide whether we prefer indefinite extended jury duty or capping it to the same policy that we give Jonathan. If we prefer to leave the original policy, maybe we then want to reopen the door and take Jonathan's contract if you feel that that was unfair on Jonathan. But yeah. So.
Or you can have a different cap too. You could, yeah, that's another, I mean,
Technically, we can do all sorts of crazy.
200 hours. Yeah.
Well, that sentence that's striked in there, it says, said leave of absence is conditional upon the employee returning to work upon dismissal each day to complete their remaining normal workday.
Well, the remaining, it's like if they like did jury, start the jury duty at 8 and then didn't get to leave until 5, that still satisfies
Right.
the clause.
Yeah, Jay is
I
correct.
see.
Like
Okay.
if
Yeah,
most
that's what it
juries leave at
means.
3 though, so you just have to work the last 2 hours of the day. But
We're just saying that somebody shows up at 8 in the morning, is only there for a couple hours, shouldn't take the day off.
yes,
Which maybe that's an unfair thing to say. I'm not saying that that's but that's what the policy says. So,
Yeah. and we've applied it before. We have used this policy of an employee going to jury duty, doing, they were scheduled to work in the morning. They got paid by us for that morning session. Then they came back to work in the afternoon and got paid also by us. So we have used that in the past.
I mean, what I'm inclined to do, having heard that, is that, I would support adopting the bereavement policy, take no action on the jury duty policy amendments. So just leave what we already have there. And if the board feels it's worth further discussion on jury duty, maybe the direction is that policy committee and staff look at what comparable government agencies are doing. And, in consultation with also reviewing what if there is recommendations from the superior courts about this.
I like the concreteness of that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. And we do, I mean, those are like, that's on in terms of the benefit. I think there's other edits to this that again can wait, but it's in terms of the, implementation, like the original policy doesn't distinguish between temporary employees and part-time employees. And so those kinds of, process parts will need to still incorporate, but obviously the main discussion here is what's the benefit? What is the paid time off going to be?
So I will move to adopt the bereavement leave section of the amendments and take no action on the jury duty section.
I would, if we could say just to approve the resolution, because it is one resolution for both policies. So approve the resolution as amended without the jury duty policies, amendments.
Yeah, so moved.
I'll second.
You were thinking I was most interested on the motion, so now I know what I'm doing.
All right, so we have the motion by Brandt and the second by Topliff. Is there any public comment on this motion? I see none. Is there any board comment on this motion?
I'd just like to comment on the whole situation that I am in favor of there not being a cap for our employees, but I also don't have a problem with there being a cap for Jonathan, just because of his special role. And the fact that, you know, he could indeed use that to argue for not serving on a jury that would last for a long time. And we could always revisit it if that situation ever actually developed in real life.
I understand that very clearly. All right, so we
I
have,
didn't think of that. That's a good.
all right,
Keep
This
it
is
the same.
one of the few situations where it's like the civic duty that we all aspire to is in tension with the reality
Reality of running a small
of running
organization.
a
Yeah.
district. And so, you know, I don't know. I would need to mill on that more, and maybe you do too.
Same.
all right, so I'll repeat, we have the motion from Director Brandt and the second from Director Topliff. We have commentary on it. I will now go to a vote on this motion. All those who are in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. And this motion passes 5-0-0-2.
Good policy discussion.
That was very helpful. Those of you who aren't on policy committee to help us
Haven't
think through.
the workshop policy like that in a while.
Now we will move on to our fifth area, reports. I'll ask if there are any reports from members of the board. Director Brandt.
Just had a great time this weekend, getting to participate in the UCSB's move-in voter registration efforts. And I know, shout out to Maya, who was also out there for one of the days. That's a great effort, and it dovetails very nicely with National Voter Registration Day, which was last week.
Maya's on the Zoom too.
All right. Well, thank you both for participating in that. I'll share that last week, we had a leadership meeting. So me, Director Topliff, Jonathan, and Sydney met with IVRPD and their leadership, and we discussed a few topics for fall and just got back on schedule with our monthly meetings over summer. We had to take some time apart just with people's vacations and necessary time off. So it's good to get that conversation going again. Happy to have those continue. And I will also share that next week I will be, yes, maybe it's in 2 weeks. No, it's next week. I will be meeting again with the Goleta Library Advisory Council or Commission. So if anyone has any urgent questions, please send them to me. I'll be sure and voice them at that committee meeting. And yeah, that concludes my particular report. I'll move on to reports from standing and ad hoc committees. No reports, so I'll move on to report from district council.
Nothing to report, thank you.
All right, thank you. And report from our general manager and staff.
We have a bunch of the staff here to, speak on their own reports today. So Maya, do you want to go first on Zoom?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there in person today. A little bit of updates from my end. So we've recently completed the Community Spaces Guidebook. It is on our website in both English and Spanish. We also finished our training sessions, which will be uploaded to the website soon too. So check it out. I think it's a really great way to look at the policy that y'all approved. Other things we've worked on is revamping the website. We have some new landing pages and program pages in addition to improving the overall design and flow this summer. The Community Ambassadors Program is finally launched and we are currently accepting applications. A little bit of an update on what that is. That is our volunteer program where we are encouraging students and long-term residents to commit to 10 hours of volunteer service with us, with the opportunity for letters of recommendation and a celebration at the end of the quarter. So it's launched. We're looking at applications and we have a volunteer handbook in progress. We've been collaborating on a lot of upcoming events in the season of Move In. So we're collaborating this Saturday, the Welcome Back Music in the Park with UCSB Housing, Ivy Tenants Union, IVRPD, Thriftopia, and more. We also have our Clean Air Education Fair next Wednesday on October 2nd. We'll have panels, a free bike fixing station, and even a gift card to go away to get yourself a new bike, thanks to a grant that we received. We also have our Survivor and Ally Self-Care Retreat coming up on 10/11, which is like next Friday. That is a collaboration with CESA, UCSB Care, Domestic Violence Solutions, and more to provide a space for people to learn about resources while also taking care of themselves at the beginning of the year. The last event in the works on my end is the Day of the Dead Arts Festival coming up on November 2nd. Many more details to come on that. Additionally, for Move In, we've been tabling. We have a big tabling schedule that has been alive and well. We've also been reintroducing ourselves on social media and over email just for new students to get a better idea of who we are and what we offer. Last couple things, we are working on a civic leadership initiative, which is essentially going to be a course that launches in the winter for people to learn more about their local government. You will hear much about that to come. We are working with a potential fiscal sponsor for funding for this. And then additionally, we are in the beginning stages of our new vending machine program. We are currently doing trainings to hopefully get that up and running in early August. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, Spencer has a question.
Maya, if you would send me your tabling schedule, I would love to find a time to drop by. Thank you.
Of course, I'll share it with you.
So most of my update had to do with what I talked about earlier. So the move-in sale, but also just trying to educate all the incoming residents on proper waste disposal methods and advertise our unwanted item pickup. We now have a replacement for C-Click Fix as well, which is just a Google form, which I kind of modeled after the city of Golida's reporting form. So that's launched, just trying to advertise that. And we are also starting to very slowly add art throughout the community. If you go and take a look at the utility box on the corner of El Colegio and Camino Corto, that's our first mural that we had a hand in. And I think it looks really good. So there's a few more to come in the near future, and then working on some bigger projects that'll probably take a bit more time.
Sydney?
My focus has been on a lot of admin side, not as exciting as the program updates, I feel like. But just revamping like our onboarding process, job descriptions, all that super exciting stuff. I have been putting a lot of focus on our press releases. Something fun I'm working on is kind of looking at IVCN and how we can kind of pivot to offer a little bit more of a supportive, become a more of a supportive resource for our community. So potentially more to come on that, but a little bit of a revamp there. And then as Maya mentioned, a lot of focus on this vending machine launch. So going through trainings and getting that ready to launch and people to start using it.
And then some other things to fill in are, and thank you to all three of you all for presenting. Some things to fill in is we have Ivy Safe coming up. We're back to Ivy Safe. October 16th is the next meeting. And we might try to do this vending machine, ribbon cutting around that, since a lot of our partners are going to be at that meeting as well. I'm going to a networking forum in Pasadena on October 2nd that we got a grant to attend for the mobility plan funding. So the people who gave us a grant for the mobility plan are also giving us a grant to attend this event in Pasadena next week so that we can meet funders for our future transportation projects. Both the mobility plan and the parking plan are going to be coming to the board for like sunshine essentially on October 8th. no discussion or action. It'll be on the board to make them, part of the public reveal. And then they'll be back for approval on November 12th. So there'll be a period in between to make final touches and amendments to anything, but we are on the final steps now of getting both those plans finalized. The parking committee did go over the draft plan for the parking 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago already. We got some good advice recently too from Supervisor Joan Hartman's office on how to get back on it with our library project. So we're going to be following up on that to hopefully get that now, completed by next July instead of this summer, which we obviously missed the window of opportunity there for that this year. And then finally, you'll be seeing soon some of the relaunch of the compost program offerings, moving away from the collection and more towards in-person volunteer and education events. So those are being worked on and will be launched pretty soon. And then finally, it is actually part of our policy that I need to report to you all Public Record Act requests that we get. And so we did get one since the last board meeting, and it was from Aaron Murphy on a list of our staff and board from 2022 to 2023, which we did provide, but as well as their personal cell phone numbers, which we advised that we cannot share those things. So I've also been attending a lot of management trainings this month, and it's really nice to see that we are ahead of the game on a lot of special districts. On GM evaluation, I attended one on that. Everything we did was above and beyond what they're saying to do. And I also attended one on new board member orientation, which is important for us because we have 3 new board members coming in. And I did learn a lot of good tips. I've done that for the last 7 years. We've done new board member orientation, but they had some good tips on how to make that even better. So sorry for those of you who went in the old version, but the version 2.0 will be even better. So
Yeah. Spelling Aaron Murphy, you said?
yeah, Aaron Murphy,
How do you spell Aaron?
ERIN. He's the owner of Playa Life.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Director Brandt.
Did I hear the parking plan is coming on October, say that date again?
Yeah, October 8th. So you'll get it's like a first reading essentially, or
Okay.
sunshine, maybe even.
And it's, you said there's no action, but is there discussion?
You guys can provide discussion, or you can just see it then and then email in your comments would be, more practical for us. But yes, you could have discussion for sure. There'll just be nothing to do. Like the whole point of it will just be to
It's a
give
first-
another chance
I
for people to
understand.
see it. Yeah. And we're going to be doing like a social media and email campaign and reach out campaign to like our, people who came to all the focus groups and were super involved. We're going to be letting all of them know in different ways as well. But this is just another one of the rollout opportunities.
All right. Well, thank you for that update. And with that, we will move on to closed session. Council, can you read us into closed session?
Yes, thank you. So the board will meet in closed session on item 6.1, conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. Property at issue is 970 and 976 Embarcadero Del Mar, Isla Vista, and the Pardal Solar Lot. Agents negotiators are Marcos Aguilar, Board President, Carrie Topliff, Vice President, Jay Freeman, Board Member, Bob Geis, Consultant, Jonathan Abud, General Manager, Sydney Castaneda, Assistant General Manager, and Jamie Traxler, District Counsel. The negotiating parties is the Isla Vista Community Services District and County of Santa Barbara, and under negotiation is the price and terms of payment.
Thank you. Director Brandt.
I will be recusing myself due to my employment with the County Board of Supervisors.
All right, thank you.
Good one, everyone.
Yeah.
Just put E2. Yeah.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to, okay, it's 7:30 PM. Council, can you read us out of closed session?
Yes. So the board met in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 to discuss real property negotiations regarding the properties at 970 and 976 Embarcadero Del Mar and the Pardal Solar Lot. Discussion was had, direction was given to staff, no reportable action taken.
Thank you. And now I'd like to move on to area 7, our future meeting dates and future agenda items.
Can I go over this with you guys just so
Yes.
that you're prepared for fall? So we have 3 meetings left. So 4 meetings left. What's going on? You have October 8th, October 22nd, November 12th, and December 3rd. Those are the last meetings left for the year. On October 8th, you know that we're gonna have the mobility and parking plans already, and we're gonna do our Ivy Safe preview that day, like for the agenda items on Ivy Safe. So think of some things before then. Maya's gonna come with a festival budget since we have to change our plans for the festival for Halloween. And then I think we're gonna have a volunteer handbook approval that day. And then November 12th is for sure we're gonna do a Halloween recap. We're gonna present the parking and mobility plans for approval. We're gonna hopefully have our facility naming policy ready for you then. It's actually been done for 4 years. It's a weird story, but it's coming back to be finished. And then this is exciting is the county is considering a new ordinance on waste collection services in Isla Vista. And so it'll be that we helped craft and gave all the input on. So we will be considering it for endorsement at our November 12th meeting before the Board of Supervisors takes it up on December 3rd. And then December 3rd will be our final ceremony meeting with our current board members. So the new board members, they won't be board members on December 3rd, so we can invite them to join, but this will be our day to say goodbye and we do resolutions for ending your term of service. And so we'll do that then. And that's December 3rd. So it might not be as heavy of a meeting, more of a ceremony meeting, but if there's business, we'll bring the business.
All right. Any questions, board members? All right, well, thank you for that update for us and for the public. I'd like to announce that the next regular meeting board of directors will take place on October 8th, 2024 at 6 PM on Zoom and at the community room 970 Embarcadero Del Mar, Isla Vista, California. And with that, I will adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.